Running 101.
Running 101.
Running 101.
Hello, I'm Nat, and welcome to another episode of Running 101. I hope you're all well and have been enjoying our recent episodes. Just a quick update from me. I'm currently in week 8 of my Berlin Marathon training block. Week 6 and 7 were a bit tricky, to be honest. We're trying to stick to the plan. If I were to narrow down and put my finger on it, to be honest, it was my strength training conditioning. Probably could have been a lot better. Now in week 8, I'm trying my best to bring it back on track going forwards, fingers crossed. So over the last few weeks, we've touched base with a few runners who have expressed how they go about their training and running routines, also specifically focusing on their pain points and how they tune their training schedule to address and shake off the challenges they had. Today, we have someone with us who has done mileage, having run the London Marathon a good 4 times, and also has a background in running from an educational perspective too. Although they've been coaching for quite a while, for the last 6 to 7 years, they've helped train, develop, and pave the way for upcoming athletes across the globe. James, welcome to Running 101.
Cheers, Nads. Good to talk to you, and thanks for welcoming me on here. It's good to be part of it, really. I've heard of a lot of PE teachers and coaches and the other people who've been on, so yeah, looking forward to it.
No, thanks for putting some time aside, James. It was really nice to initially touch base with you, reach out and just get some feedback over the last few weeks and just understand your interest in this as well. So no, I appreciate all of that. Thank you so much. How have things been lately?
Yeah, things are on the up, I think. I've had 5 months off. Sounds like a ridiculous amount of time. 5 months with a sacral stress fracture. So if that's not going to put people off the podcast, so keep listening for that. But essentially, I was due to do London Marathon, and end of Feb, start of March, got a real bad back pain. Sort of went through to sort of lower hip. And yeah, I got it scanned and it was a sacral stress fracture. So I'm now on this slow build of having rubbish fitness and a lot of challenges of getting back to anywhere sort of like with regular consistent training. But that's the challenges we all face when we train and we try to get to a certain level and things like that. So it's nice to be able to run in the summer. That's the biggest thing at the moment, and nice to get out there, especially when you see everyone else training through the day and through the early mornings when the sun's beautiful and it's nice temperature. So it's good to get back at that as well. But I am currently able to run on grass, flat grass, and it's quite monotonous round football fields and stuff like that. So as soon as I get the okay to go a little bit further and a little bit off-road and stuff like that, then that'll be great.
To be honest, it's a bit of an eye opener to hear about that from you. But I guess like we're all human beings, and we all suffer these sort of niggles, injuries, sometimes major ones that actually mean that we need to sit out from an entire event and go back to basics and work on our training, our cardio, our conditioning, our strengthening. But at the same time, I think it'll definitely be good for not just myself, but other listeners too, to hear about that from you, because this is your day to day. You're literally not just out there on the streets to run and go through a few events and cover off some milestones, hit a few goals, but you're working with others to better them, not just improving yourself at the same time too, but for them to be able to grow in the same field as well. So knowing that you too get hit with the same things that everyone else does, it just kind of makes it that much normal for everyone, if you see what I mean, that this is just part of it. It's part of the journey, getting injured, getting hurt, being able to start from scratch. It's sometimes as much of an injury that it looks like, it's a bit of a blessing, right?
Yeah, it's one of those points where you actually go, do you know what? Actually, everything in terms of a work-life balance and actually trying to fit your training in and that element of recovery hasn't gone to plan. And actually, it's one of those things where you just go, it's happened for a reason. There's a lot of things going on. And as much as at the time, I sort of had 2 or 3 weeks trying to go through the pain and go, well, actually, it might just be a glute problem, or it might be a hamstring, or this, that, and the other problem. It was one of those where I couldn't have carried on, and that's where you realize after quite a few years of training, you go, yeah, there's no point in seeing if it would improve on its own or with limited support from a physio. Get that advice from a professional and then get a scan on it and then move on as quickly as can, really. So I think the hardest thing is to have that element of basically going into cross training or any sort of gym work to make sure you supplement it, to make sure you improve at the same time, but also having the rest to make sure the body adapts and comes back a little bit stronger.
Yeah, good point. To be honest, we went straight into injury there. We weren't even expecting that, but no. But to be honest, I
I
mean,
know it's like a doom and gloom podcast straight away.
no, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, that is something that we were going to come around to anyway. But it's a good place to start. But yeah, without let's start with a bit of an intro to yourself, James. So go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah. Nice to be on part of this. My name's James Horman. I'm also on Instagram as run.coach.teach. Essentially, as it sort of says in the title, I'm a runner. I run for Liverpool Harriers. I've also ran at England Masters level for 10K half marathon and cross country. I've also, like you mentioned as well, Nads, I've done 4 London marathons, and I'm still aiming for an improvement in those London marathons because I'm not done yet. I am a coach. I've been coach for quite a number of years now, especially working with individuals who come to me at the moment with quite goal orientated focuses in terms of, I want to meet Boston qualifying time or a sub 3 hour goal or sub 4 hour or whatever it is that they want to do over half marathon or 10K, and have that accountability or that variation in their training that they want, that focus that they can't get from somewhere else, maybe an app, or they don't have the group or the support or the network around them to actually develop that as well. And finally, I'm a teacher. I'm an assistant head teacher at a school in Liverpool. And obviously that's a big part of everything that I do with day-to-day life and trying to fit in training, family, coaching, and making sure that I can run and perform as well as much as I can. So that's my background. I am at vet 45 level now, so it's getting to that point where maybe those injuries are becoming a little bit more often, but it's all a learning curve, and it's one of them where I want to support as many people as possible. So it's nice to come on here to listen to obviously your other podcasts and speak to you guys about offering support or any sort of guidance that I can do with anything in a sport that I love so much and I've got so much from as an individual and as a coach as well.
No, thanks for that, James. To be honest, it goes. It's nice to see how everyone else might feel like they have a passion for this and love for this, but just looking at your history and what you've achieved before, what you still have planned in to come in future, your passion and love for this goes above and beyond any that I've kind of touched on over the last few weeks. Anyway, let's just say it that way. But no, thanks for that intro. That's great, actually. I mean, from a you might have heard of Shaq, who we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
From a teacher's perspective as well.
that's right.
So
Yeah. Yeah, so it was another PE teacher, so it's brilliant that there's that competitive element of everyone trying to improve themselves, but also coach and support others at the same time.
yeah. So James, where did it all start for you from? Like, where did running kick off?
I think, well, for me, and this is really going to show my age.
No one's judging. No one's judging.
Yeah, no one's judging. But I won't even mention years because that's ridiculous, and I'm going to come across as really old in this podcast, so I've got to be careful there. I started at school, went to secondary school, and I was fortunate that I had a PE teacher who obviously was really into cross country, really into running, developed, had lots of races, lots of opportunities. However, the only thing that we had in our area, we were sort of, we were about 18, 19 miles away from Peterborough, where the local athletics club was, which meant that, fortunate for me, mum and dad were committed and supportive to actually get me there twice, 3 times a week to an amazing group who I'm still friends with to this day. And the sort of club spirit, the social aspect, and the opportunities to race over cross country, track, you name it, it was all in Peterborough. So without having the opportunities to develop from school into that club environment at a young age, that wouldn't have happened really. So thank you to my parents for doing the laborious task of actually driving me all the way to Peterborough and back, which that could be a mission sometimes. But then went to university in Liverpool, straight away joined up with Liverpool Harriers, where I'm going to be quite honest, there was Peterborough Athletics Club, which was great, but then moving to a club in Liverpool where there was probably twice as many members. The standard to get in teams was significantly higher. The level of performance was a lot higher, and that sort of challenged me to be better as well. So again, just a great club environment for socials, for teams, for training, for everything really. So that's kept me in the group. That's probably kept me in the Northwest as well, and coming back to the Northwest and things like that for teaching and jobs around here. So at every point I've been racing, and I'm still racing against youngsters as part of sort of the ride relay scene. And I know that some of the people that are on your podcast or listening to the podcast might not be aware of the club scene or much to do with the club scene, but I've been brought through in terms of representing the club at national competitions or national relays or this, that and the other, which is really, really strong, and you don't often get that in other countries as well. So
True.
really, really positive in that way. But now it's coming to a point where that, and I think you see that more in terms of, especially with coaching, where there's a lot of people out there who are scared to join clubs. There are a lot of people who will say, I'm a jogger, I'm not a runner, or I'm a runner, but I would never go to an athletics club. Or those people that would look at an athletics track and go, that looks a little bit too fast for me. So I think there is a change in perceptions out there, that there's different people coming into the sport that obviously can get support out there. And it doesn't have to be in a club environment. So there's been loads of changes, but that, again, that's showing my age a little bit.
I think one thing that we've actually been pushing across while we've been discussing is run clubs and communities, and what a big difference they make, not just to your progress, but just to how you tackle things on a regular basis, to share those, be able to share those queries, just come across all the different types of experience that you would face when you are part of a run club or a community. I mean, James, you've probably seen the huge change. I mean, the type of club that you're talking about is they're still around, but the whole idea of like a run club has evolved since then, hasn't it? Like, well, you probably see all the brands popping up now with their sort of run clubs too, right? So
that's it. And those run clubs are so important, because you bring in a different sort of audience to running that would see it not based around performance. If you look at the old club scene, it was always about times, it was about positions, it was about everything to do with improving that level of performance. And I'm not saying that most of the run clubs are not about that, but most run clubs are very sociable. They're sort of they might have a focus of a certain race that they're doing, but it's not about being the best at that in that club, or it's not about what's your power of 10 position or anything like that. It's about how they as an individual can improve and obviously enjoy every aspect as much as possible.
it seems to be that when we talk about it evolving, and like you just mentioned, how it's more about just being part of it now, isn't it? Just being out there, just looking after yourself and picking up that level of fitness if that's the activity that suits you best. Just delivering it or being able to participate in it as best as you can. Just give it a shot.
Yeah, I completely agree. The that sense of community and that sense of belonging is massive. There's a couple of clubs near us, Made Runners. They're brilliant in Manchester. That just bringing together that whole community aspect. And I know they do a lot of running at 5 o'clock in the morning, but the numbers that they get to that is outstanding. So yeah, there's a lot of work behind the scenes to do that. My next question, and this is not me being devil's advocate, but there's a lot of people that will be basically in those social run clubs who will be going, actually, over 3, 4, 5 months, I've improved quite a lot. And I now want to go from a 5K and I want to go and do a 5 miler, a 10 miler, or 10K, and they want to start to see a little bit of an improvement so then they can compare. And that's natural, but obviously the majority of people, I don't know, in terms of those run clubs, do they get the expert or the specialist advice or the tailored support that they want to actually improve themselves? Because if they're doing the same 5K every week, or if they're doing the same 10K every Sunday, well, they're not going to improve, are they? All right. So it's about obviously managing expectations that don't just automatically go, do you know what? I've done this running malarkey for the past sort of 2 or 3 months. I'm going to go straight into a half marathon. And believe it or not, there's so many people out there that I really worry about that offer limited training will go, I'm going to go into that half marathon, or worst of all, I'm going to sign up for a marathon and I'll do London or I'll do Manchester. Okay. And I'll do it for charity. And the whole aspect of getting their training background before they're strong enough to do those events is really, really important.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head there in terms of how when you go to these run clubs, I'll be very honest with you, only being in the space for about 5 years, which I mentioned before.
Yeah.
My definition of a run club is pretty much how it's growing over the last couple of years, which is all these brands opening up their Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursday run clubs and stuff. And a lot of people returning, open to all, regardless of what capabilities are, which is great. It's nice. It's nice to bring you together and go out there and just give it your best shot, which is great. But yes, you do mix with people of different capabilities and some limitations, some people from a different background where they might not quite be there. But sometimes you just and one side of it is there's somehow this FOMO builds up over nowhere where you haven't looked at whether you're actually ready to move on to the next level yet. But just because everyone else seems to be going that way, you just jump on the same bandwagon, right? And you feel like, yeah, let's just go do this and stuff without looking at where you are, where you should go next, and what your stepping stones should be. That's all I think anyway.
And I think it comes down to goals, doesn't it? It comes down to longevity and how long that they want to be in the sport for, or where they can see that sort of plan going. Because at the end of the day, the short-term plan of doing a 10K in September might look great, but where does that put you if you do another 10K in April and you run exactly the same time? Well, what have you done over the course of 7, 8 months to actually improve to make sure that April 10K is actury standing out as, do you know what, I did that and I was half a minute quicker, or I was a minute quicker because I've done this in between. But there's so much positive in the sport at the moment, and that's what we've got to be thankful of, that you do get the variations of the people who want to be the club runners and they want to be get that element of advice in a group. There are also negatives to being in an athletics club or a road running club, because you might join up with a group and that group might be focusing on a 5K or a 10K and you actually want to focus on a half marathon. So that coach might not be able to tailor or give you the advice that's specific for your event. True. So again, it's really, really tricky out there, that actually finding that resource to make sure you're getting support that's specific to what you want. And if you are picking those events, then why are you picking those events? Are you picking a half marathon because your mate's doing it, but your mate's done maybe 5-10 years of football or netball or basketball, and they've got this training age that, even though it's not running specific, they've got a sporting age that's actually a little bit better than you and be able to cope with the demands of exercise, and you might be just jumping in straight away off the back of not much. So again, there's so many things to think about. It's about enjoyment for me, and at the end of the day, it's enjoying it as part of the process. It's enjoying the people that you're around, and it's enjoying it because you're seeing improvements and challenges and making sure that there's that variation in your training to do that over a longer term.
Yeah, no, I actually think you're right over there. And yes, there's pros and cons of everything, right? Regardless
Yeah.
of, I mean, you go to a community, you go to a run club, there's loads of pros there, which we have touched on, some that you've just shared before too. But a few negatives do come on too. And it's about what you want at the end of the day. You need to be honest with yourself and clear with yourself about where you want to go, what you want to achieve from this. I mean, just reflecting a bit on myself, to be honest, James. I mean, again, I use that 5-year mark. I know I'm probably like doing everyone's ears in by saying that again and again. But I mean, I bump into people and they're like, "Oh yeah, so how was London?" I was like, "Yeah, it was really good for me. It was my first marathon." "Oh, what? You haven't done a marathon before?" "I thought
I
you
know.
might have done one or two." And I said, "No, to be honest, I built my way up over the last 5 years. So
Which is
I'm quite
brilliant.
yeah, I'm quite happy
Yeah.
to say I took 5 years before I even thought about it, let alone planned one in.
Yeah.
Really, really grateful that I got an opportunity, and for the Muslim Runners Network who granted me that opportunity. I'm always going to be grateful for that. But yeah, I'm glad I took that time because I had to move from thinking I was a 10K runner, moving my way up to doing my first half, which was the last day of 2023.
Wow.
It's crazy enough. And I knew
Yeah.
2024 was going to be my year of halves where I would just train my way up. I was supposed to hit 3 events. I only hit two of them, but
Okay.
I still ran some halves offline anyway. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, 2025 happened for me, and here we are speaking about
But
how London
yeah,
went, and Berlin's
and
further down the line.
you're speaking about it in a way that you've had a positive experience,
Yep.
because London is absolutely categorically the best event that you could ever run. Like, there's nothing else that even compares to the crowd, the support, the atmosphere, the worry, and the aspect of the sense of completion when you've done it. It's just incredible. And yeah, it's one of those where people might get into the ballot. The ballot is, according to the latest figures, is out of those 55,000 or 56,000 places, there's actually only 17,000 places available in the ballot, because the rest goes to obviously charities and sponsors
Charities,
and
yeah.
things like that. Yeah. But it's about making sure that you are successful on that day, and
Yep.
you've done it in a way that you build up over time, because this is a behemoth of an event that essentially 26 miles, your body is never meant to do that far. It can't store that much in terms of energy to make sure you can produce it. You've got to cope with the demands of that activity, and you've got to do it in a way that it doesn't put you off. Now, I'm happy to say that I've done 4 Londons, each of which have been slightly challenging from the first one. I got bored with running. I'd been a runner since I was a kid. I'm happy to say that. I've said this to lots and lots of people, that I'd done a lot of track work. I've done a lot of road racing, cross country, and it came to a point in my 20s where I was like, I just needed a new challenge. So I went, right, I'll get into London. I was fortunate enough to get a time that got me a championship place. I didn't know anything about the training. I hadn't done anything in terms of coaching before them, and understanding the requirements of a marathon event. And essentially from then I got injured, and I was training far too hard, far too early. I came from a background where I thought that it was an easy thing just to increase my mileage and I'd be fine. Quite naive in that respect, that actually I got injured and eventually had to do it off sort of 6 weeks, 7 weeks training. It put me off when I'd actually done it and completed it. It put me off running for quite a bit of time. So I probably didn't get back to running for maybe another 8 months,
Wow.
maybe a year after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me really sort of take stock as to actually, is this something that I wanted to do? But you always miss that aspect of running. You miss the freedom, you miss the camaraderie, you miss so much when you don't have it. And it was one of those no-brainers that, okay, well, I'm not going to sign up for a marathon in short term, but I'll get back to other events, and then maybe in a few years' time I'll do that. And that was my first marathon was 2009. I ran 2:47.
Amazing.
And then went, I think it was 2012, because I thought it would have been nostalgic to do London Marathon when it was Olympic year. So I did that with a little bit more understanding for nutrition, but I didn't take half as much as the amount of carbs on that I needed to. Drop my time down to 2:37. In a world of pre-carbon and no super shoes or anything like that. And then my past two, I think I did the one when there was a London Marathon in October. Because of
COVID. Yeah.
I think was it coming out of COVID or just going into? No, I think it was just coming out of COVID. I was 2:31, and then the most recent one was a couple of years ago when I did 2:28. So still making progress and trying to understand that you can never get it right. That's what I'm trying to tell myself. But again, it's about fitting in the increased load, the training load, to make sure that it fits with the family, fits with all the coaching, fits with the work, and again, I don't get injured like I did do before. But
I just have to say, 2:47, 2:37, 2:31, 2:28. And you're still saying that you need to go back to do it again to fix it up yourself.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Why are you so hard on yourself?
I don't know. It's probably because
I have to say, you've got me on one side who didn't even ballot for 2026, and people are like, why didn't you ballot? And I'm like, I just ran it and I'm happy with my time. Now, maybe we should have spoken around the time where I could have balloted for 2026, because looking at your times and my
it's not about that. I think for me, I did 68:09, I think it was 68:10 for a half marathon a year ago. And I think if I've run 68 for a half marathon, then I should be a lot quicker over a marathon. And that's being quite, I don't know, that sounds quite arrogant, doesn't it, really? But you know what you should be getting. And I think that those times aren't as I think that's a background in running, where you're always looking for times and things like that. But that, I can just reassure your audience that doesn't equate to my coaching, where I'm saying, right, okay, you've got to drop 20 minutes off your PB and this, that, and the other. So it's just being aware that there's always improvements to be made, and doing it the right way is the most important thing.
Yeah. What would be your ideal London Marathon time, given that the last one was 2028? What would you go for next? I mean, on a good day, on a good year.
I'm not saying it, because I said it in February, and look what happened. I got a stress fracture. So I'm going to leave that. I'm definitely not going to say it. Because anything could happen on that training block.
Well, whatever that is, all the best with that. But
I appreciate that.
I mean, you touched on quite a bit there, James. Let's have a quick recap. I mean, you started off from school, giving your parents some of the appreciation over there for getting you out and about from a logistical point of view, but how running brought not just the aspirations and motivation, gave you a good environment to hang around with and work with those aspirations, right? Like you had a good circle of people around you.
Yeah, I think that was one of the big things as well. And the like-minded people who worked hard on the track, supported each other, and actually those are the people who I am still friends with today. And you'll like this story as well. We lots of the group, as soon as you went to university, people went their own ways and this, that, and the other. Essentially, a few years back, one of the lads who is in the group, there was probably about 8 to 10 of us at the time, from Peterborough Athletics Club. At that time, people were working busy lives, things like that, hadn't had running as a focus. There was only 2 or 3 of us who had kept up with the running into our 20s and 30s, and we all decided to go and do an event. And he basically started doing this event, which is, you might have heard of it, Endure 24. So Endure 24 is in Reading, and I think there's another one in Leeds, but we always make this annual pilgrimage down to Endure 24 now. And so if you've ever seen us at Endure 24, there's a range of costumes and things like that we always dress up in for the first lap, but then it's a 24-hour off-road sort of 5-mile loop that you do as a relay team of up to 8 people. So you have a barbecue, there's a great atmosphere. So there's thousands upon thousands that will turn up to this random country estate in Reading, and then basically for 24 hours you literally destroy your body. So
how many years have you been have you been consistent with doing that yearly?
I think I have a couple of fallow years where I think we on and off we've done it for probably about the past 7 or 8 years.
Oh, sweet. Nice.
But last year was not this year just gone, but the year before we were third team, so that was the highlight for us, that we managed to get 8 of us round. But it's the social aspect. It's nice to see everyone. It's nice to keep in touch, and it's one of them where the WhatsApp goes bonkers for a couple of months, and then everyone sort of dies down a little bit. But yeah, again, it's those relationships that you build as kids, and you have the same sort of ethos that now sort of permeates through the run clubs and the social clubs that are running, where everyone's having that same attitude of let's improve our running, or let's improve our personal levels of fitness, and we'll do it this way, and it's done in a nice way. So
yeah, no, in some ways it's definitely evolved for the better, and you're absolutely right. I mean, that is where it kind of links into and relates to as well on those weekly community runs, whether that be park run or the run clubs taking place too. So it's nice to know that even though that's what the structure was of the initial run clubs back in the day, there are elements of that have adapted or been picked up by these local brands and these run clubs happening on a weekly basis these days.
And I think running takes you wherever you want it to take you. I mean, like for me, I've had the opportunity to go on, when I've gone on holiday, I've gone and done a couple of races abroad and things like that. And it's nice to just put on your kit and go for a run in the surroundings you don't know, and you see a lot more of it. And I think those aspects is something that you probably don't get in other sports. It's certainly something that you carry through.
Yeah, no, till this day, my 10K PB is in Toronto in Canada. So crazy enough, you just go there thinking, oh yeah, it'll be nice to participate in a run. You didn't think you'd come back with your PB, and you're just trying to beat that, and you're like local, right? So
that's brilliant.
Yeah, no, it's a memory, something to remember. They'll probably that was one that I'll probably never forget, to be honest. So yeah, you make those on the way too. The memories are a key part of the journeys that we're all on.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so James, based on from your experience and from a professional point of view, someone starting today, like we have dabbled in this earlier in our discussion, but someone starting today, if they came to you, they approached you, what would be the best or the initial advice that you offer them?
I think for anyone starting out in the sport, it's about enjoyment. The most important thing is getting that support to support you in whatever your goals might be. And I think the priority is what is in your local area that you can support, whether that's a small run club, whether that's a group. I think there's that aspect of don't be afraid of seeking support. You might have done 5, 10 X amount of different park runs, and it's a case of actually, right, there is support out there for whatever you want to achieve from running. Okay, so that similar to what I've said earlier, there is online support. There are the cookie cutter online training programs that you can get from certain apps that will take your details and give you a plan straight away with not really knowing much about your history and things like that, which would obviously serve a purpose. But there's also that relationships and the understanding and the history that you can build with a coach. And I'm not saying everyone needs a coach, but what I'm saying is that don't be afraid to ask for support from different people. And it depends on what your time is that you have to do, whether you can join a club. You might have family commitments and you are running at 5 o'clock in the morning or late at night because of work. And it might be the case of, I'm never going to get to a group, but how do I get that one-to-one feedback to say, actually, I'm feeling dead this session. What should I do next? Or I actually feel like at the moment, I'd like to try this in February. Do you think this is unrealistic? And I've had quite a few people and I think this comes down to the social media aspect, but I think I've had a few people come to me and said, I'd like to do 3 marathons in 3 days. Or I had someone who came to me 4 weeks before Manchester Marathon saying, I can run up to 15 minutes. Do you think I'm daft doing Manchester Marathon? Would you support me? And I think an app isn't going to tell you no.
Exactly, true.
All right. Your best friend isn't going to tell you no. You need someone who's going to understand your history, understand what sort of the demands are on you, what the restraints, what your history about illnesses or injuries or your work-life balances to put something together. So I'll always sort of say you can get professional advice for the price of a pair of trainers. You can always get that support from a simple DM on Instagram or anything like that, and then that conversation begins. But I think the priority for anyone starting the support in the sport is about time, and it's about consistency, because at the end of the day, you putting in and devoting that much time, that much energy, that much sort of emotional aspects of, I'm going to commit myself to doing this run because I'd like to do this race in X amount of weeks' time. It's about making sure that it's in the right direction. Okay. So I think the consistency element is about building routines and whether you have those routines to make sure it's a lot easier for yourself. So if you started doing 1 day on, 2 days off, are you doing 1 day on, 3 days off? Are you doing a case of, do you know what? I just train ad hoc when I get a chance. And all of a sudden you've got 2 weeks and it's race day. Okay. Do you have this process of actually, do you look at your Strava and do you look at your progress over time? Because if you're in the same point, if you are 6 months down the line and you've done the same training that you did before, well, okay, you might have got a lot of social aspects or stress relief from your training, but I think the majority of people that will be listening to this podcast and the majority of people that I meet, it's about, I'd like to improve and I'd like to improve my level of fitness. So I'm feeling more confident, more competent, and I'm able to run this distance feeling a lot better in terms of my levels of fitness as well. So I think if anyone was starting today, I think that the hardest thing is, and this is where people will probably hate me for saying it, all right? So this is another thing that could go really, really badly. And this was one of the topics we did sort of put down, me and you, Nads, was talking about people have not been taught how to run. They literally go out and run. And it's that natural thing of, I can run, but you might be able to hold your technique for 5K, 10K, okay, but a little bit further, and all of a sudden
Start struggling.
You might start struggling, all right? And your body will find out the little areas of weakness, the little minor things that will cause concerns, and all of a sudden we've not done things technically as well as we could have done because we haven't got that guidance, all right? So I think, and it's called physical prep. It's that element of, what are you physically prepared for? So are you physically prepared for a fast 5K? Well, most people just literally rock up, don't do a warm-up, don't do a dynamic stretch, and they'll try and blast a 5K, and then they wonder why they feel crap. So there's all these different routines that I feel that if someone was coming to me, the first thing I would ever do is obviously say, right, I need as much information as possible. All right. And that comes from goals, that comes from history, that comes from what they want out of the sessions, what they want to achieve in short, medium, long term. And then essentially we look at putting any sort of plans together about how that will fit into their lifestyle. So it's completely bespoke. I think the most important thing is the variety that you get in your training. Okay, because that variety at the moment, we've got early mornings, we've got lighter evenings. Are people going out there finding new routes? Are you actually going, do you know what? I could bike to this point, or I could run from work and I could see where this route takes me, and I could do something a little bit different. Okay, because I'll tell you, in the midst of December, January, where it's it'll be dark at 4:00, or it'll be really dark till about 7:00 in the morning. And at the end of the day, you're not going to go and find all these new things. So there's all these different things that you put the foundations, the basics, the fundamentals, okay, to make sure people are successful. And when people come to me, as they go, I feel really challenged, I feel really motivated, and actually they know that before race day they are super supported to make sure they're successful. So they know all the routines to make sure that there's no stress, and they enjoy the whole process. That's what I know that they would say. So it's one of them where I come from a completely different aspect of obviously being a runner, being that coach, having been a coach education tutor for England Athletics for years. I understand what coaches need. I understand obviously the technical requirements for those distances as well.
Yeah, you're in it for the long run, basically. That's the whole idea around it. And I think one thing that you mentioned initially, which is quite key, is be honest with yourself, right? What actually do you want from this? Do you just want to run a few kilometers, get a few medals, and just call it a day? Or do you want to keep this part of your regular routine, make it
and
part
that's
of your
fine.
fitness and your exercise all the way for the future?
I'm not being critical of anyone who wants to do that. Please don't ever think that. If there are people that want to just rock up, do a 5K, do a 10K, and they're happy with that as a stress relief, or in terms of their sort of social aspects of being with other people doing similar, then that's cool. That's great. As long as your body is fine with that. But if you want to lose weight, or if you improve your fitness, then obviously there's more that you can do. All right.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Thank you. All that being said, what makes you go again? I mean, again, reflecting on everything that you've achieved, your background in this, having a passion and a love for it, losing interest in it at one point too, but then you only to pick up and come back and follow a different journey with the same course. What makes you go again?
I think for me, it's the stress relief. I think actually it's getting out the
Don't
door.
people bring their stresses to you though?
Oh, listen, I'm not some sort of counselor. No, not at all.
Yeah,
I'm a
let's make
coach.
that clear. Let's make that
I'm
clear.
a coach. Yeah, that's the one thing you say to anyone. Listen, you can have a moan at me, but at the end of the day, this is your session. But I think the biggest thing for me is getting out the door, being physically active, having that endorphin release, the element of racing, and trying to still be competitive and still be better than I previously was. I think that's probably the PE teacher in me. I think for me as well, there's been two other aspects that means that I still want to keep going and still want to keep pushing. I don't know how long I'll keep pushing, but it's my kids are 11 and 7. I want to make sure that they've seen me do some decent races or be part of it. They've been to London. They've done a couple of races like that. My youngest son did the mini marathon this year, and that was just that was incredible. We also go on to Bath Half Marathon. We've got relatives down there. If you've got anyone that goes and does Bath Half Marathon, it's an amazing event. It's like a 2-lap course.
Nice.
So like your friends and family can see you probably 3 or 4 times on that route. So that's brilliant there. And I think finally the one thing for me was when I got into my 30s, I knew that Masters Athletics would be 35 or 40, and now 45. So I can aim for getting representative vests for England Athletics, and try and achieve that, and that's quite cool. I think that's really nice, to have the understanding that there's another outlet for me to focus on to do that as well. But I just love running. I love coaching it. I love seeing other people improve, and I love being part of their process when they get the goals and when they get their achievements. And obviously, when we go back to the drawing board and go, right, where can we go from next? And that's really important for me.
Good stuff. Yeah, no, in tackling your injury right now, what's next for you? What have you got up and coming for yourself?
If I can get back to some sort of fitness, I'd love to do Manchester Half, which it's a big thing up here. It's getting bigger every year. It's now up to 26,000. So I don't know if you know much about it, but it's sold out this year. So
Wow.
it's where I did that a couple of years ago. 68.10 I did. So I'd love to go back and run well there. But again, it's having that. I think when around 68, I'd got months and months of work behind me, whereas this is going to be one of those where you're thinking, am I chasing fitness a little bit too much to try and run fast? But it's a good course. I like that. And I have got the time for a championship place for London, because this year I
Nice.
ran 69.05. So if you get sub 71.30 for a half marathon, you are, well, you don't automatically get it this year, but there is a championship place potentially available. So long-term aim, or actually medium-term aim, is get back to fitness and then hopefully build for London. So that'd be really important.
We'll keep an eye on that one, because you're not telling us a time that you're going to be targeting, so we'll keep
No.
an eye on London.
But I might be not there at all. I might be this year. Yeah, so that's all good.
Cool. Any upcoming plans from a coaching point of view?
No, I think for me, like I say, there's a lot going on with. I only ever sort of coach a certain amount of people. It's making sure that I'm able to invest my time fully. I'm not one of these coaches online that you might see that will be coaching hundreds of people at the same time and sort of doing generic plans and things like that. I like the process of getting to know people, developing their plans, being flexible with their plans to make sure it works. So I think for me, over the next year, it's about developing a sort of a little bit of a bigger base. I'm not always, with work and everything, I'm not that quick on social media to put stuff out there, but it's normally through word of mouth that people will say, "Oh, well, I've heard of this coach, or I've worked with this coach, give him a shout." And it's a case of obviously fitting in a few more people to build it a little bit more than I am doing at the moment. So, but it's doing it in a manageable way, so I can still run and still be coaching as well at the having success with that as well. That's really important to me.
How many people do you actually take on at one particular time? And what's the best way that you offer your training? I mean, I'm sure it's virtual as well as like face to face, right?
Yeah, so I can obviously, at the moment I am on Instagram. If you do look up, it's run.coach.teach, or just put in run.coach.teach, it'll come up. And on, if you want to email, it's run.coach.teach@gmail.com. So obviously you can, by all means, drop me a line or get in touch and obviously come up with something. So thank you for mentioning that. That's really kind. I only ever coach 10 at any one time. That's essentially, so I'm in the privileged position where people come to me. All right. I feel really proud that actually people put their trust in me to actually support them for what is a big target. It's a big focus to have any sort of event like a half marathon or a marathon where people are spending probably thousands to, maybe I've got people who are going to Berlin, to New York, to Chicago in the next few months. And for them to go, right, I'm spending thousands of pounds to go in there, I'd love you to coach me as well. I think that's really, really nice. And it fills me with a lot of pride that they're actually putting their support into and their sort of understanding that I'll be able to support them to deliver on their race day. So as part of that process, I'll never sort of say, oh yeah, I'm going to take on another 10 people, because I might not be able to have that level of communication, or I might not be able to give that level of investment. So it's a case of there's always going to be people dropping in and out of the 10, but it's one of them where I always commit to those people fully and make sure that there's that dialogue and that constant. I've got some people who might just go, right, what am I doing this week? And that gets set out. I've got some people who text me on a day-to-day basis of literally like, what does this mean? I don't know what this is. What shoes should I wear for this? How much gel should I take on for this? And I'm getting bombarded. That's fine. I don't mind that, because when they get to race day, they know they've covered everything. So I'm happy in that respect of whatever it takes for them to be supported. So it's completely different to most of the coaching that you'll get out there. And there's quite a lot of people in terms of coaches that you can get online who will be charging upwards of £150 a month for X, Y, and Z, and they're taking a lot of other people on as well at the same time. So that's me. The whole thing that I will try and do is give you the reasons, give you the understanding for, that's why I sort of pitched it as run, coach, teach. I will, not in a teacher sign, but I'll educate you why this certain thing is happening in your plan now, and why we are doing these certain drills or activities or sessions and this, that, and the other. So I'll always give you the why. So then hopefully you get a bit more knowledge about why your training is progressing in the way it is. So it's, I love it. I love being part of any sort of process that sees improvement. So it's great that way.
Cool. No, all good. Thank you so much, James. Honestly, your time means a lot, and I'm sure not just me, but everyone else will appreciate it, and we'll definitely be able to reflect on all the points that you covered in terms of where you've been, what you've achieved, how you tackle things, your viewpoint in terms of training, your viewpoint in terms of what the journey should be. I do feel that it's always good to reflect and go back on why you started and have a good understanding of what you want out of it. And that's something that you've shared too, that you're happy to come to terms and discuss that with people on an ongoing basis. So once again, thank you so much, and appreciate you being with us.
Yeah, thanks, Nads. So like we've had a discussion before, if there's anything that we could go through again, there's so much in terms of training or nutrition or guidance to doing successful races. I think it's really important that podcasts like this exist to make sure people aren't so insular and just look at what's at social media, really, because you can get certainly a different aspect with all the influencers who are flying out to Kenya to do their training blocks or doing all these training sessions, which might not be appropriate. So this podcast is really, really important to get people moving in the right direction. So keep me updated, and if I can support in any which way, I'd love to.
That'll be amazing. No, once again, thank you for your time, your effort, and the feedback that you've regularly been dropping me as well. It's been it's really good, and that level of support, like we've mentioned on the other episodes, goes a long way and just keeps us focused on trying to bring as much of the viewpoint as we can to cover all the right aspects, which kind enough you've been able to share today as well. So thank you all for your time. I'm sure you definitely have a lot to take away from this episode. I definitely have. And like James has mentioned, his contacts, I'll make sure to tag those in the ones published, so you'll be able to reach out to him offline too. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to upcoming episodes. Look after yourselves. Bye, guys.